Princess Seraphina felt cold, lost, and completely alone. Darkness surrounded her, stretching endlessly in all directions. The sky above held no stars, only thick gray clouds that blocked any light. A chill crept up her spine as she took in her surroundings. This wasn't the royal ship. She had no idea where she was, but she knew one thing for sure. She had been abandoned. Just hours ago, she had trusted her royal guards to help her escape. A political coup had broken out, and her life was in danger. She thought her guards would protect her, stand by her no matter what. But instead, they had left her here, on this unknown planet, alone and afraid. Now she couldn't tell if she felt more betrayed or terrified. Seraphina stumbled forward, her legs weak and shaky. Her fine gown, once a symbol of her status, was now torn and dirty. She hugged herself, trying to hold back her tears. Royalty didn't cry, she told herself, but the fear was hard to shake. As she moved, every sound seemed to echo around her. The wind howled, making strange, eerie noises that sent shivers down her spine. The ground was rocky, sharp edges digging into her feet as she walked. She wasn't sure where to go or what to do, only that staying still seemed even more frightening. Then her mind flashed back to the stories she'd heard about this place, rumors of humans. Her people had always warned her about them. Humans were dangerous, ruthless, and known as killers across the galaxy. Some stories said they lived here, on the darker, more dangerous planets. She tried to shake off the thoughts, but the warnings seemed to grow louder in her mind with each step. But she didn't have any other choice. If humans really were here, maybe she could avoid them. She'd stay quiet, move carefully, and try to survive without drawing attention. All she needed was shelter and food, she thought. But as she glanced around, the rocky terrain looked barren, and the trees, twisted, dark things, gave no hint of food or comfort. The silence around her grew heavy. Every once in a while, she heard the faintest sound, a soft crack, a distant rustle. She kept telling herself it was just the wind or her imagination, but deep down, she felt something was watching her. Her heart raced with every tiny noise. Suddenly, she heard a distinct sound, footsteps. They weren't her own, and they weren't far. Her heart jumped, pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat. She spun around, eyes wide, scanning the darkness, but she couldn't see anything. Fear froze her in place. Was it a human? A wild creature? Her hands shook as she backed up against a nearby tree, trying to hide, trying to stay calm. The footsteps grew closer, slow and steady, as if whoever or whatever it was knew exactly where she was. She covered her mouth, holding her breath, afraid to make the slightest noise. Her whole body tensed, ready to run or fight, though she knew she was no match for the creatures that might live here. Then, just as suddenly as they'd started, the footsteps stopped. Silence filled the air, even more unnerving than the sound. Seraphina didn't dare move, her eyes darting around, straining to see anything in the shadows. For what felt like an eternity, nothing happened. But Seraphina knew something or someone was out there. She could feel it. And somehow she knew this was only the beginning of a long, frightening journey. She was truly alone, in a place where the only thing more terrifying than the darkness was what might be hiding in it. Seraphina's heart raced as she clutched the rough bark of the tree behind her. The silence stretched on, thick and heavy. She could almost hear her heartbeat echoing in her ears. Who or what was out there? The stories about humans flooded her mind. They were brutal, vicious, and known to hunt down anyone who crossed their path. But she had no choice but to stay still and wait. Then, without warning, a figure stepped into view. Seraphina's breath caught in her throat. It was a human dressed in dark, rugged clothes and armed with a strange-looking weapon. The man looked fierce, with a scar running down his cheek and eyes that glinted with a mix of curiosity and caution. Seraphina froze, terror flooding her senses. This was it. This was the monster she had feared. The man scanned the area, his sharp gaze sweeping through the shadows. Seraphina tried to hide deeper behind the tree, but she was trembling, and she knew he could see her. Her heart thudded louder as he took a step closer. "Show yourself!" he called, his voice deep and commanding. "I know you're there!" She swallowed hard but did not move. Perhaps if she stayed quiet, he would leave. But the man took another step forward, then raised his weapon. Fear surged through her. She had heard stories about how humans use their weapons without hesitation. She felt her legs weaken as she imagined her end. Suddenly, the man lowered his weapon, a look of surprise on his face. "Wait, you're not one of them," he said softly, almost to himself. "You're just a kid." Serafina blinked, her fear giving way to confusion. "What do you mean?" she whispered, her voice shaking. "I am Princess Serafina of the Arkan Empire. Please don't hurt me!" The man hesitated, studying her with his sharp eyes. "You're a princess?" He chuckled softly, shaking his head. "Here? You must be lost." Serafina frowned. "I am not lost. I was abandoned. I need help." She felt a spark of anger rise within her. She didn't like being treated like a helpless child. "Why would you care? Aren't you supposed to be a killer?" The man's expression softened, and he lowered his weapon completely. "My name is Captain Drake, and yes, I'm a soldier, but I don't hurt people who are already down." He glanced around, checking for danger before stepping closer. "I know this place isn't safe for you." With a mix of fear and hope, Serafina slowly stepped out from behind the tree. She could see Captain Drake more clearly now. He looked tough, but also strangely kind. You don't want to hurt me?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Not if you don't want to hurt me," he replied with a slight smile. "But we need to get out of here before your friends find you. They'll be looking for you and they won't be kind." Serafina's heart sank. The memories of her royal guard abandoning her flooded back. "They're not my friends," she said bitterly. "They left me." Drake nodded, understanding in his eyes. "I get it. I've been left behind before, too. But right now we need to move. This planet can be dangerous." He turned, gesturing for her to follow. "Come on, I'll help you." Serafina hesitated, her instincts screaming at her to run. But something in Drake's voice made her trust him. She took a deep breath and followed him, her heart pounding. They moved quickly through the underbrush, the darkness surrounding them. As they walked, Drake shared stories of his own battles and struggles, painting a picture of humans that was very different from the tales she had heard. He talked about loyalty, bravery, and how humans valued their lives and those of others. Serafina listened, fascinated. Maybe these humans were not the monsters she had imagined. With each step, she felt a little less afraid. Together they walked deeper into the night, a princess and a soldier, two unlikely allies bound by circumstance. Serafina glanced at Drake as they moved. He was not what she expected. Perhaps this was the beginning of something new, a chance to understand the very beings she had been taught to fear. Serafina walked beside Captain Drake, her heart still racing, but now for a different reason. The darkness around them was thick, but she felt a little safer with him by her side. As they moved through the dense trees and underbrush, she couldn't shake off the feeling that she was stepping into a new world. The fear she had felt just hours ago began to fade, replaced by curiosity. Drake led the way with confidence, his eyes scanning the surroundings. He moved silently, like a shadow in the night. Serafina tried to match his pace, but her legs were still sore from running and hiding. She wished she could keep up with him, but every step felt like a challenge. "Are you okay?" Drake asked, glancing back at her. His voice was calm and reassuring. "We can take a break if you need to." "I'm fine," Serafina replied, though she felt the weariness in her bones. She didn't want to show weakness, not now. "Just trying to keep up." Drake smiled, a warm expression that eased some of her tension. "Don't worry, you're doing great. This planet can be tough, but we'll find a safe place soon." Serafina nodded, feeling a flicker of hope. She decided to trust him a little more. "What's your camp like?" she asked, trying to keep the conversation going. "It's hidden, but we have food, water, and a few friends," Drake explained. "We work together to survive here. Humans look out for each other, especially in tough situations." He paused, looking serious. "And I'll look out for you too, Princess." Serafina blinked in surprise at his words. "You really mean that?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Of course," he replied. "You're not alone anymore. We're in this together." They continued to walk, the quiet of the night wrapping around them like a blanket. Serafina's mind raced with thoughts of her home, her family, and how far she had fallen from her royal life. She had always been treated like a fragile flower, but now she felt stronger. Perhaps being with Drake and the other humans would change her. After what felt like hours, they arrived at a clearing. Drake stopped and motioned for her to be quiet. "We're almost there," he said softly. "I can hear my team. Stay close." Serafina took a deep breath, her stomach twisting with nerves. Would they accept her? Would they see her as an enemy or a friend? As they approached, she spotted a small campfire flickering in the darkness. Several humans were gathered around, their faces illuminated by the firelight. They looked tough but also friendly. Drake stepped forward, calling out to them. "Hey, team! I found someone!" His voice carried a sense of excitement, and Seraphina felt her heart lift. The group turned to look at her, eyes wide with surprise. "Who is she?" a woman with short hair asked, her tone cautious. "This is Princess Seraphina," Drake introduced. "She's alone on this planet, and we need to help her." A tall man stepped forward, his expression serious but not unfriendly. "You're safe here, Princess. We don't harm anyone who isn't a threat. You can trust us." Seraphina's heart raced again, but this time it was from relief. "Thank you," she said, her voice steadying. I don't know what to do. I'm scared." The tall man nodded. "That's understandable. You've been through a lot. We'll take care of you. But you'll need to help us too if you can." Seraphina felt a rush of warmth at their kindness. "I will. I promise," she said, determination growing within her. As they gathered around the fire, Drake introduced her to each member of the group. They shared stories of their lives and their battles against the dangers of the planet. Seraphina listened, amazed at their strength and loyalty to one another. With each story, she felt her fear slip away. The humans were not the monsters she had imagined. They were brave and protective. She saw their scars, both physical and emotional, and realized they were survivors like her. As the fire crackled and the night deepened, Seraphina felt a sense of belonging she had never known before. Here, with these humans, she could be more than just a princess. She could be a part of something bigger, something important. And for the first time in a long while, she felt hopeful. The sun was just beginning to rise, casting a golden light over the campsite. Seraphina woke up to the sounds of laughter and chatter. It felt strange but comforting to be around these humans. They had welcomed her into their small group, and she was starting to feel like she belonged. "Morning, Princess." Drake greeted her with a wide smile as he stoked the campfire. "Ready for your first day with us?" Seraphina stretched and nodded. "What do we need to do?" Drake's expression turned serious. "Today we prepare for the possibility of an attack. We have to gather supplies and fortify our camp." He glanced at the others who were already packing their gear. "You'll be with me. I'll teach you how to defend yourself." Seraphina felt a mix of excitement and fear. She had never imagined she would learn to fight alongside humans. "I want to help," she said firmly. As they moved out into the forest, Drake explained what they were looking for. "We need food and materials for protection. Stay close and remember to be quiet." Seraphina followed him, her heart racing. They walked in silence, listening for any sounds that might signal danger. She could feel the tension in the air. It was a reminder that this world was not the safe place she had known back home. Suddenly, a rustling sound broke the stillness. Drake stopped, raising his hand for silence. "Get down!" he whispered urgently. Seraphina dropped to the ground, her heart pounding. She watched as a large creature emerged from the bushes. It looked like a cross between a wolf and a reptile, with sharp teeth and glowing eyes. Drake crouched low, his weapon ready. "This is what we train for," he murmured, glancing at Seraphina. "Stay behind me." The creature sniffed the air, its gaze darting around. Drake moved slowly, positioning himself between the beast and Seraphina. She could feel her fear rising again, but she was determined not to back down. She had come too far to run away. As the creature lunged at Drake, he fired his weapon, hitting it squarely. The beast yelped in pain but didn't fall. Seraphina's instincts kicked in. She grabbed a nearby stick, feeling the rough wood in her hands. "I want to help!" she shouted, surprising herself. Drake glanced back, a look of surprise on his face. "Stay back, Seraphina!" But Seraphina couldn't just stand there. She remembered the stories of brave warriors from her childhood. She raised the stick and charged at the creature, swinging it as hard as she could. The stick connected with the creature's side, causing it to stumble. Drake's eyes widened in shock. "You hit it!" he shouted, but he quickly refocused on the fight. He aimed again and fired, this time bringing the creature down. It lay still on the ground, and Seraphina felt a rush of adrenaline mixed with fear. "Are you okay?" Drake asked, rushing to her side. "I think so," Seraphina replied, her breath coming in quick bursts. "I didn't know I could do that." Drake grinned, his face full of pride. "You were amazing! You fought well, Princess. We're going to make a great team." Feeling exhilarated, Seraphina couldn't help but smile. This was more than she had ever dreamed. They had fought side by side, and she felt stronger than ever. But they couldn't linger. They needed to continue gathering supplies. As they moved deeper into the forest, they found fruits, nuts, and materials to reinforce their camp. Each step felt more empowering, and with every new challenge, Seraphina found her confidence growing. By the time they returned to camp, the sun was high in the sky. The others welcomed them back with cheers. Seraphina felt a sense of pride swell in her chest. She had faced danger, fought a creature, and helped gather supplies. As they prepared for the evening, Drake gathered everyone around the fire. Today was a big step for all of us. Seraphina showed incredible courage, and I'm proud to have her on our team. The group cheered again, and Seraphina felt warmth spread through her. She was no longer just a lost princess. She was part of a family, a group of warriors who fought for each other. As the stars began to twinkle above, Seraphina looked at her new friends. She knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, she was ready to face them. Together they would survive, and together they would fight. As dawn broke over the forest, Seraphina woke with a sense of purpose. The sun streamed through the trees, casting a warm glow on the campsite. She could hear the soft sounds of her new friends preparing for the day. There was a feeling of excitement in the air, mixed with the lingering challenges they faced. Today was different. Today they would take the fight to the creatures that threatened their safety. The team had spent weeks gathering supplies and planning their next move. Seraphina felt ready to step into her role not just as a princess, but as a warrior. "Good morning, princess." Drake greeted her as she joined the group around the campfire. His smile was wide and reassuring. "We have a plan for today, and it involves you." "What is it?" Seraphina asked, her heart racing with anticipation. Drake explained their plan. "We've noticed a den of creatures nearby. They've been attacking travelers and raiding our supplies. Today we're going to confront them and drive them away for good." Seraphina's excitement faltered for a moment. "What if we fail?" she asked, worry creeping into her voice. Drake placed a hand on her shoulder. "We won't fail. We're stronger together. You've already proven you can fight. Trust in yourself and in us." With a nod, Seraphina felt her confidence return. She gathered her gear and prepared for the day ahead. The team set off, moving with a sense of determination. Each step brought them closer to the den, and Seraphina could feel the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. She wanted to protect her new friends and prove that she could be more than just a princess. As they approached the den, the air grew tense. The sounds of the forest faded, replaced by an eerie silence. Drake signaled for everyone to stop. "We need to be quiet and stealthy. We don't want to alert them just yet." Seraphina nodded, her heart pounding in her chest. She followed closely behind Drake, her weapon ready. They moved cautiously, inching closer to the mouth of the den. The shadows loomed large, and she could see the shapes of the creatures inside. Suddenly, one of the creatures emerged, its eyes glowing in the dim light. It looked fierce and hungry. Without thinking, Seraphina stepped forward, raising her weapon. "We won't let you hurt anyone again!" she shouted, surprising even herself. Drake and the others quickly moved into position. "Now!" he commanded. They attacked as a unit, each member fighting with skill and bravery. Seraphina felt a rush of adrenaline as she joined in, swinging her weapon and dodging the creature's claws. The battle was fierce. Seraphina felt fear, but it was overshadowed by her determination. She fought alongside Drake, feeling his presence by her side. They were a team, and together they could overcome anything. As the dust settled, the last creature fell. The team stood together, breathing heavily but victorious. Seraphina looked around at her friends, a wave of pride washing over her. They had done it. They had faced their fears and won. Drake turned to her, his eyes shining with respect. "You fought bravely, Princess. I knew you could do it." Seraphina smiled, feeling a sense of belonging she had never experienced before. "Thank you, Drake. I couldn't have done it without you and the others." As they left the den behind, Seraphina felt a change within herself. She was no longer just an alien princess hiding in fear. She was a warrior, a protector of her new family. They had fought side by side, and now she understood what it truly meant to be strong. The journey back to camp was filled with laughter and stories. The team celebrated their victory, sharing tales of their fight and planning for the future. Serafina realized that she had found a new path, one filled with friendship, bravery, and purpose. As they gathered around the fire that night, Serafina looked at each member of the team. They were not just allies, they were her family. She had learned to trust, to fight, and to embrace the challenges of this new world. "I want to keep fighting with you," she said, her voice steady. "I want to help protect this place and all of you." Drake smiled, pride shining in his eyes. "We're glad to have you, Serafina. You've become one of us." Under the starlit sky, Serafina felt hope and determination. She was ready to face whatever came next, hand in hand with her friends. Together they would continue down this new path, united as warriors and family.